Yeah. So Lucy, tell me how the whole Reuters thing came about, because I think when I met you, were you working for AP then when you at the
Yeah,
beginning? Or
probably. Yeah. When I first
yeah,
started, I was, because I freelanced for about 10 years for AFP and AP, and
right.
then finally Reuters. And then it gradually became almost all my wire service or news
Hmm.
freelance work was for Reuters. And then I
Right.
got hired with them. So yeah, so that was what I did when I first came to LA. I've been with Reuters now since 2003.
And Reuters is based in the UK, or where's Reuters based?
It's like AP. It has bases
Yeah.
everywhere. And I mean, there's a base in New York.
Yeah.
Originally, it was based in London, but
Mhm.
at this point, we have bureaus everywhere.
Mm. Well, that's where our worlds merged, because
Yes.
I mean, I can't even count how many games you and I sat literally next to each other, and
Yes.
at Staples Center, NBA Finals, All-Star games, whatever it was, there was Lucy.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting world that we travel in sports photography. Needless to say, it's been male dominated for so long, right? And thankfully not as much as it has been. And I'm going to name off some names of women photographers that I admire, and that are colleagues of yours as well. I mean, yourself, Elsa Garrison, Maddie
Yes.
Meyer, Lori Shepler, Jen Podheiser, Susan Regan, going way back, Ann Ryan. I mean, I literally shot an NBA Finals next to Ann Ryan, and she was 9 months pregnant with
Oh
twins.
wow.
Yeah, it was,
Oh wow.
and there she's working as hard as the rest of us. Um, and I go back to a quote, I think in the Who Shot Sports book, which you and I were both part of that exhibition, and it was
Yeah.
curated by the great Gail Buckland. And Gail said on the page where she featured you, she said that you had said that male sports editors were under the opinion that women just weren't strong enough to be carrying equipment around, which is like the most chauvinist thing ever. But was, was that I mean, I know how hard it is to become, a top flight sports photographer, and I'm a man. I can't even imagine what it was like as a woman. And not like, the heaviest woman out there, you're kind of small. Did you run into that kind of roadblock time after time, or you just overcame it?
It's got progressively better over time, and each
Mhm.
generation, I mean, I remember when I was first starting, there was Amy Sansetta from AP, and she really started off in the era when it was very challenging. And
Yeah.
it's better now. And when I started, and thankfully things change with the generations, and they change with, I mean, people like you. I mean, when I first started out, you offered me so much help in teaching me how to put remotes, and it just
Be careful what you wish for. Yeah. Yeah.
no, I mean, that was really my start in sports photography. And I got to travel so much because when I first started doing basketball, I mean, part of the challenging thing is, if it's very competitive. We work in wire services, and it's extremely competitive
Yeah.
between each other. And when you first start off, and if you start doing well, and people don't like the competition, and if you're the only woman, then that manifests in lots of different ways, which are not great. But
Hmm.
one of the ways that I found to keep myself sane, and you know just sort of find a way around all of that, was when I first started doing MBA. Instead of just competing with somebody and doing the same one remote that they were doing, I was like, well, I won't do it in a wire service way. I'll copy what Andy does, because Andy puts 6 remotes, and I'll just take it to the extreme and do something like that, where and so I
Well,
started
hold on.
doing that, and you started helping me, and that, then they started sending me to all these different places. So it
Well,
really was.
let's back up for a second. You're being like incredibly humble. I have like 3 people who work with me every gig. Minimum 1, 2, sometimes 3. You're doing this by yourself. You're schlepping all this equipment in and out. I have the luxury of working most of my time in Staples Center, so I get to keep my gear there. We just take it from the closet to the court and back. I mean, you're a one-woman show, and not only all of that, but then you have to transmit your photos, you have to edit them, transmit them. I mean, it's an amazing workload. I was always in awe of how hard you worked. And and you
Thank
continue to
you.
work, obviously. But
Yeah, yeah, no, it's changed a lot. There's a lot.
yeah,
I do less schlepping than I used to. There was a lot of schlepping in the early days.
schlepping. Yes. Right now, I'm not doing any schlepping. The only schlepping I do is getting on Zoom. But um, so, Lucy, you shot all these NBA games that we shot together, and I just want to show a few pictures. I mean, some of your work. I mean, all of your work is amazing. But and our worlds collided many, many times. And then, of course, you had your Olympic experience, so your NBA sort of background, helped you with the Olympics.
This was amazing. This
Yeah.
was, yeah, I photographed, I think in 2004, the US team didn't field its best players.
Right. Right.
And this was 2000, this was Beijing. Yeah, it was
Yeah, this is Beijing.
and
Yes.
they were trying to recreate the dream team.
Right.
And it was just so amazing. I mean, the US basketball players are just so dominant compared to any other players in the world.
Yep.
And for the longest time, they didn't play as a team. They played as individual players. And my crew, I can never say his name. I should because I'm of Polish descent, but Krzyzewski
Yeah.
put together this team. And those four guys who you wouldn't expect to be playing as teammates really got it together for this, and it was so beautiful to watch them playing together like that. And it was that shot is not actually a very great shot, but it was so challenging
Oh, I love that
in
shot.
the chaos of afterwards to get the four of them. I
Yeah.
was watching one out of the corner of one eye, one out of the corner of the other eye, and I was like, they've got to get together as a four at one moment, and that
Well,
was it.
amazing. How many Olympics have you covered, winter and summer? I mean, this shot is just ridiculous.
Oh, that was the
I
Summer
know how you took
Olympics
that picture.
from the roof.
That's unbelievable. Wow.
With
But
a remote camera. I wasn't in the roof. I have shot 7 Olympic. I would just
7.
7 Olympics. I would, as we speak, or no, in July I was heading to Tokyo, but like every other event on our sporting calendar,
Yeah.
that has been crossed off my calendar.
Yeah. I mean, well, you're just putting it off till next summer, right?
I think so. I think that's
Yeah.
what's going to happen. We'll see.
Do you have a preference for winter or summer? I mean, I know, of course, the weather, but do you prefer winter sports to summer sports, or doesn't really matter?
I like the Summer Olympics better. It's a
Yeah.
lot harder work because there are a lot more sports in the Summer Olympics, and it's a
Yeah.
much bigger team that Rhoda sends. And so it's working much longer hours.
Yeah.
And I usually do track and field or athletics at the Summer Olympics, and that's long days.
Yeah. Yeah.
A morning and an evening.
Do you have
But I like,
any horror stories? Any, I mean, because I've been to a few Olympics, and it's just gotten so difficult to work. I mean, to do what
yeah,
we do, and they're so restrictive. I mean, I remember in where was I? I think it was probably Barcelona in '92. They wouldn't even allow
yeah,
me to walk from one side of the court to the other. It's stuff like,
yes,
okay, I mean, stuff that we do all the time.
yes.
And and I'm sure you're very good at politely coercing the security or whatever you got to do your job, right?
Depends on the country. Some countries
Yeah.
you can get away with a lot of that stuff, and others not.
Well, speaking of that, talk about this picture, which is absolutely mind blowing. This picture to me. I mean, I've seen it before. Can you talk about, and a lot of people who listen to Legends of Sport are not photographers, but they're interested in photography or they're interested in sports or how we do it, like in a nutshell, talk about how this picture was made, because it's not a person standing on the sideline with a camera who happens to snap this picture, right?
Yes, well, this is basically what you taught me in basketball applied to athletics at the Olympics.
Mhm.
And at the Olympics, there are a few of us who are given this it's an amazing position at the finish line,
Yeah.
which faces the athletes head on as they run across the finish line. And it's a challenging position to shoot because the athlete runs so, I mean, Usain Bolt is like watching a motorbike go past you.
Yeah.
He's so fast.
Right.
So and when you see all the athletes coming towards you,
Hmm.
obviously you can guess that if Usain Bolt's in the race, he's going to be a story whether he wins or loses.
Hmm.
But it's also very difficult to see who's winning at that angle, because the depth of you can't really see if somebody's a few inches ahead of the other person.
It's less
So
than 10 seconds, the race, right?
the race is less than 10 seconds. So that's the other thing. There's so much build up to it. And in some of these stadiums at the Olympics, there's 60, 80,000 people in the stadium. So there's this, it's incredibly noisy.
Mm-hmm.
And then as the athletes stand on the starting blocks, it just goes completely silent, and they take the longest time to start that race. So you're there, and your heart is beating because you're like,
Yeah.
I hope I don't mess this up.